explaining to them how they can, including their grant, that they're going to sugarize the activity and make the curriculum available of how to use it.
Yeah, online
some
for
ways.
free, Creative
So,
Commons and so forth.
Are any of these folks non-US institutions? Because
Well, it goes on all over the world, yeah, clearly.
Well, the NSC, you know, what I'm
Governments-
familiar with is the United States market.
Right.
But I have to imagine, but the stuff they create is generally freely available.
Right.
I have some-
And they've got approved, and even if they're running through the NSF, it's gonna look good on their grant application if they show users.
Yeah.
And I think that's true of any grant. You know, when you're making learning objects via a grant, you've got to prove to the people giving you the money that users will use it.
Yeah.
So if we
I
make
think
this
we've
a
got,
practice,
I think
so
we
have like a
can
local
organize
thing.
that one,
Yeah.
because we're not gonna take a contract unless we have somebody saying they actually want, you know, not just to have the thing, but to use the thing.
Right, but
And-
the actionable
But
item.
let me continue on the next point, which was the question about other countries, because I actually know something about that. Most countries are not like the United States. You've noticed. In many countries, the government pays someone to write a textbook and the government owns it. And there's no nonsense about these fake bidding and I use that word advisedly, bidding processes that school boards use for textbooks. If anybody wants to know, Richard Feynman, Nobel laureate in physics, served on the Los Angeles County School Board Textbook Committee and wrote about it.
That must
He
be
was
brilliant.
furious
Yeah.
the whole time.
See Feynman punching some 60-year-old.
Well,
But yeah,
but
it's
it
publishers.
specifically illustrates the fact that the sealed bid process to try to get the lowest price is a total sham. It's absolute nonsense.
I agree with you.
And
I
And
think-
also,
mockery.
but more importantly for the children, that the textbooks are chock full of errors and what Feynman, not me, what Feynman calls outright lies.
There's no such thing
Math
as a
and
free
physics
market
books.
Right.
in textbooks.
Yeah, can't be anyway.
Right, but I'm not
it-
talking about the textbooks and the textbook publishers. I'm
Yes.
talking about a side market
Right.
where people are
But
doing
let me-
things under grants. I don't think we're
But
anywhere
let me
close
give you
to
the rest
getting
of that
into
answer.
textbook publishers
Let me
right
give you
now.
the rest of that answer. In the United States, schools are constrained to order textbooks that have been approved either by California or Texas because nobody will publish anything
Yeah, I
else.
love this.
Okay, that means 48 states have an interest in other sources of textbooks, because if it doesn't cost anything, California and Texas can't get in the way.
I think the U.S. textbook procurement is off scope, off topic right now. Needs to be taken out.
Look,
I'm sorry.
it's, we're not gonna finish any of these topics, but the point is to get it out there,
Right.
to say, we have each of these things that are out of scope for our two organizations. Let me
just-
finish the sentences to out of scope, and we have in each case some set of partners. I haven't listed all the partners. I'm
Can I-
giving you
can I put
I'm
an
giving you
action
some
item up
highlights.
there?
Sorry?
Can I just stick an action item up there?
Absolutely. That's
So
what
the
I'm saying.
action-
Everybody, please.
So the action item I'd stick up there is sample text and information on how to include deploying to OLPC deployments in your grant application.
Grant writing. What
Yeah,
we-
just
Grant writing?
not that we're gonna write the grants, it's that we're going to make it
No.
easy for people to
Support
put
it.
us
But
into
when we
their
talk about,
grants.
when we talk about a
I have
partnership,
said
that
that.
doesn't mean that a partner has to do all the work. Making expertise available is
And
a
I want
huge.
to drill down on what Carolyn
Go ahead.
said. That exact action item is what? Create supporting material for organizations that want to write grants.
Yeah,
Now,
create supporting material so that deploying to sugar can be part of your grant application.
now let me extend that. Floss manuals would be interested, if we can get funding, in writing a book on how to create a floss manual for education, including getting it funding and getting it into use. So we have to discuss that, you know, with you and some governments and some whoever. But I'm inviting book proposals, because I have several dozen so far. And Adam was joking during this sprint last week that every time he opened his mouth, I took what he said and proposed another book. But it's true, and we need more. And out of that, I don't know how many will be viable, because I don't know the market well enough. But I'm hoping that we will cover what But we will cover what funding people think they're looking for. And we will also cover what we think we need.
Does anyone
And then
know?
we'll find out by trying it.
Does anyone know what the textbook market looks like in Peru or Uruguay?
Yes, that's why I wanted Yama here. Government pays to get textbooks written, they own it.
Yeah. There is none.
And that's what I'm saying, we want to get into that market. We want to have a group of people in English and Spanish, so we promise to deliver them something in their version of Spanish,
Sure.
specific to their curriculum, with all the goodies from Sugar included.
Back to the grant writing thing just for a second, because if you're doing these university projects, a lot of the money for doing all this comes from that. So Caroline, when you look at grants for the NSF, can you write sort of a template of just what you said in regards to that proof that needs to get over? And then if you have these different levels, we can almost have a cut and paste of how OLPC or Sugar, if you just add this portion into it about how you're
Yeah.
getting it out.
See,
or
that's what
getting
I'm
this,
saying, if
you
we
can
invite
get the
Carolyn as an
grant easier,
expert
right?
to
Yeah,
participate in
I'm
the
not
course.
an expert on NSF grants,
Or
but I can
rather-
get us started and maybe, and you know, what we can try to build with people. But it's just sort of a market to go for, I mean,
But
that's the goal, yeah.
You've obviously been successful at
Yeah.
getting grants, right?
No,
You
I
have-
have been a subcontractor on other people's grants.
Okay, but you know people.
But
that-
yes,
Yeah.
I think we
Okay.
all get that, the idea here that we will make contact with the people who actually do this, and we will get, if we get to do that book, we will get it done by the experts. So that part's fine. Now, on the what is to be done, I'm gonna have to finish this up. Put down every education school. Right, we've got you education Winneba, now we're gonna say every education school, we want to get OLPCs into their, EXOs into their curriculum. We want them to do the research on the effectiveness of these methods. We want them to create new methods. We want them to join in the curriculum and textbooks. Engineers Without Borders, obviously, is only one example. We need Teachers Without Borders, Doctors Without Borders, and whoever else is without borders. Journalists. Journalists.
Yes.
Okay. And then at the bottom of the what is to be done list, put school boards and politicians. And, and after that, museums. Now, what I want to do is to figure out how to get laptops before the public. Even people who don't buy English want to get one.
Museums?
Museums, children's museums specifically. I want a room full of exos, and I've talked to the Exploratorium and the Museum in San Francisco, and they both want it. Okay? So 30 or so exos, one class at a time.
I just feel like it's dooming us to history prematurely, but okay.
We're talking about museums of the
I
future.
understand the difference.
Museum.
I understand the difference between an interactive children's museum and an actual museum. It just hit me a little goofy.
Well, you know, we do this stuff at the Computer History Museum in Mountain. We just had Alan Kay for the 40th anniversary of the Dynamo concept. And Doug Engelbart's event at Stanford is coming up in just a few weeks for the 40th anniversary of the mother of all demos. And it is, you should look it up. Right, so put it into every education school, but then have the education school do the research and the curriculum development. Put it into children's museums. Okay, so that was where I left off last. Get classes in with the teachers and parents. And then organize the political campaign to go through the school boards up through the counties to the superintendents of public instruction, or whatever they're called, state by state. And also up through the entire political, elected political apparatus. Illinois is state #1 on this. So, Children's HB 5000, Children's Low Cost Laptop Act. There's a page for it on the OLPC Wiki.
Is that stalled? Did it pass?
It passed one house and not the Senate.
Was it tabled? Was it
And
killed?
it will be revived in the next session,
All right.
because the Lieutenant Governor's office is pushing this.
Hey, Greg, the part where he has the political that you just put down, after that, those kids come through this museum thing, just put down to have them email their congressman from the XO while they're there.